The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Camping Show. I'm C.W. Getz. It is Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. We have a 46-degree sunny day here, north central Illinois. We little fun backstage, and we're going to have a little surprise for our guest here coming up shortly. But I want to say tonight's episode is brought to you by Campground Views, making camping easier, by Rutabaga Paddle Sports, providing time on the water, by Novacraft Canoe, connecting with nature since 1970, by Littlebug Enterprises, rugged simplicity in outdoor gear, and by OME Gear, outdoor activities made easy. Tonight's episode is Happy Camper Update Spring 2022 with my special guest, Kevin Callan. Kevin Callan, a.k.a. The Happy Camper, is the author of 18 books. He's an award-winning writer and a keynote speaker at outdoor events across North America, and is also a regular guest on several television morning shows and CBC radio. Kevin has several film awards to his credit and writes a column for Paddling Magazine and Explore Magazine. He was listed as one of the top 100 modern-day explorers by the Canadian Geographical Society and was made patron paddler for Paddle Canada. And with that, welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
You think with all that you listed, I could actually hold a job for once.
Is mom involved in that still? I mean, is she helping with the job search, that sort of thing? And, yeah.
She probably phones everybody and, well, you've got to make sure you say this, you know.
In Illinois, we have paperwork that goes along with that. Maybe she's helping you, assisting you with the paperwork and the job search that you have to send in.
Just a vision this that
yes.
when I was young and I would swear by accident, of course, but
yes,
she used to run around, try to hit me with a fly swatter, and I would run around the table, and by the halfway around the table, she just started laughing and give up.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah.
Why? Why would she laugh? Because of the way you ran, or what?
Yeah.
Were you an awkward kid, or?
I'm bow-legged.
I love it. Hey, I want to mention this here. I just saw one of the many social media platforms that you are on. I believe it was Instagram. You received some books yesterday. Is that correct?
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
What's
so
that about?
yeah, look at that.
Hey,
Whoa.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yes, that's the second edition of the Killarney and French River Guidebook, and it's incredible. I rewrote that. I rewrote the Algonquin Guidebook, the fourth edition. I rewrote the Winter Camping book, and right now I'm doing a third edition of the top 60 canoe routes, which is going to be now top 70 canoe routes.
Wow!
I'm working on that. And the publisher, I had a meeting with him the other day, and he goes, "Why are these guidebooks, these canoe guidebooks, doing so well? COVID." And don't you know that actually everybody's going out in the outdoors because of COVID? And which is COVID's not good, but for the outdoors and people getting out there, it's a blessing.
I think there were some positives out of COVID, the whole pandemic. I mean, not everything was negative. So yeah, I totally agree with it. Well, you're a busy man these days. Now, this is your first shipment of those books now, right?
Yeah. So the author in Canada, the author gets 10 free books
nice.
Delivered to them. So for friends and family.
Yes.
And
one's on its way to me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Autographed. Because I'm going to sell it when I get it. I'm joking. I'd be able to pay off my house that way, right? With the money I make in your book.
I'm pretty sure they are sending you one. I put you on the media list.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I was just kidding, but I love it. Thank you. I will graciously accept that, man. Thank you so much.
But it's not signed. I'm too busy for that now. I just get a stamp.
I know.
I just stamp my name on it. I don't have the time.
Your agent told us that last time when we got one without an autograph, and I'm like, wait, what is this? There's no autograph. So I wanted to have you back on, Kevin, and talk about, some updates and things like that. We do that with you from time to time, and you have been you use the word again, gracious to come on the show and do that with us again. So, first thing I want to throw at you here, because of the huge increase in number of visitors, which we just talked about, some of the U.S. national parks now require permits to be obtained in order to visit. Now, I'm wondering, are there any similar regulations or requirements like this in Canada?
Well, what you would do is if you're going to a national or provincial park that is a very popular park, you'd be a fool to go there without reserving first. If you just show up at the gate and just say, I want a campsite, you're not going to get in, right? Okay. So they're just basically saying you need to reserve online or by phone, whatever. Most people do it online. If you go to the far north that people don't go to that much, like Lake Superior or up by northeastern Ontario or wherever, you could probably get a site. But now it's so busy. The only thing that's going to save the north right now is gas prices, because a lot of those big RVs aren't going to want to go that far. Right?
Oh, yeah, right.
But campsites around southern Ontario or closer to big major cities in Canada, you could not go to them without making a reservation.
So that's been that way for some time then, you're saying?
Yeah, but it's really increasing now. And also what people are doing, and they're trying to fix it, and hopefully they'll fix it this year. So some company will actually, or people will book a whole bunch of those sites online, and then they'll sell them on Kijiji.
And that's legal?
It's a good question.
Questionable, maybe. Yeah.
Because really, it's unethical.
Well, yeah.
Or
it's like a ticket scalper, right?
Yeah, or you could say, in fact, exactly what it is. And they're going 4 to 5 times the amount for that. Yep.
Oh, that's absolutely scalping.
Yeah. Now, there's companies that do this legit. They actually get campsites for you, and then you pay them, and you pay them a fee, but not 4 or 5 times the amount.
Well,
and it's not on Kijiji. It's actually an organization. But what they're doing then, they'll hold those campsites so someone will have it for the weekend. So you'll go to that campground, and the campground will say, sorry, we're busy, or we're full, but they're not full. There's empty campsites. Well, why? It's because of this.
It's because of that. And, I have heard people comment about that. In fact, I've seen it myself, where you go and it's like, it's full. There's no more. And there are empty campsites. You go, wait a minute, what's that? So that's what's happening.
Yeah. The other thing that's happening, and I don't think they're going to fix this. I think they're going to continue with this. In Ontario parks, they experimented the last couple of years during COVID, where Temagami and also Massasauga Provincial Park in the interior, they increased the fee for people that were going on their own, or it was a flat fee. Sorry, so a flat fee wasn't an increased fee. So if you're going solo or just with another person, it was a lot more money. But if you're going with 9 people, which you're allowed 9 people per campsite, then it was cheaper.
Sure.
So the groups like the camps and all the kids camps and stuff, they rejoiced this because it was cheaper to go into a park and go on a canoe trip with large numbers. But solo people or couples were just furious because it was 3 times. It went up like 70%. So a lot more people are going to what we call crown land here. I'm not sure what you would have it, but in Ontario, the 82% of the land mass in Ontario is owned by the crown, by the government. And by law, you can actually go and camp anywhere you want on crown land and stay there for 21 days, and then you have to move on to another place. And there's no fee.
That's beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Now, if you're a non-Canadian, meaning you're from the United States, coming in, you would have to pay a price for that. It used to be $3 per night. Now it's $10. Wow. Ask Cliff Jackson about that. He'll go on.
Yeah, you're right.
and whatever he's saying about it is absolutely true. Canada should never have done that. I mean, what bad business is that? It's just
it detours. Yeah,
it's just really crazy. But there is a way to get away from that. If you actually go through an outfitter and rent a tent off them, then they waive the fee.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So have Cliff on sometime and to get him to show all the tricks and trades of that. But so the problem with that now is so many people are going to crown land and trying to find out where it is. And it's almost like trying to find a trout stream. And once you find one, you don't want to tell anybody where it is. Yeah, but they're just not everybody, but non-ethical campers are going or non-educated campers are just completely destroying, leaving garbage, poop, and everything else, right?
Yeah. In fact, you mentioned that we're going to do an episode. In fact, it's next week. We'll be doing an episode on that specific topic. So,
great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. Coming out of winter here, have you noticed an increase in number of people adventuring for the first time in Canada this winter? I mean, or is the winter pretty much remain about the same?
Well, no, it happened in the wintertime. What was really interesting is Ontario Parks asked me 2 months ago to do a front country winter camp in Killarney to educate the newcomers. So there were so many people trying winter camping, and there's now so many people trying summer or spring camping too, that now they're saying, geez, we have to educate these people. This is insane because someone's going to get hurt, right? But they asked me, and I said, well, why aren't you doing it? And they just said, well, you'll get more eyeballs on it because you're on social media more. It's like, okay, whatever. So I did that, and people really liked that because the old guard are getting very uptight with what's called the COVID campers, right? The plague of the COVID campers.
Yeah. Wow. That's something. And I don't know. I mean, here in the States, I don't think I'm pretty sure the winter camping is not nearly as big as it is in Canada. But I wondered maybe, if there was an increase in the winter as well as there is the other 3 seasons of the year.
Well, it did so much that, for example, all the parks that allow winter camping on some sites this winter, they opened all their sites.
Oh, wow.
There's one near me that had like a cluster of maybe 10 campsites where you can camp in the winter, and they upped it to like 100.
Wow, that's quite a bit.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
And people, because they couldn't go anywhere else, and they had and also we have a thing now this year. It's called staycation or something. The government will give you a tax rebate if you stay local for your holidays.
Wow. Now, okay, how's that work? And does everybody know about that, or is that something that maybe is not?
Yeah, like local tourism are really pushing it. So if I go local and I keep all my receipts, so let's say I go to a campground that's near me, I keep my receipts. I can use that on my taxes the next year.
Wow, that's a pretty nice thing.
Yeah,
maybe the U.S. should take take some of that and employ that here. I mean, that would be great. Although, are there any cons to that, or is that pretty much a haul? Hey, that's the way. That's excellent. There's nothing bad about that.
Well, the negative is all depends where you live.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that does.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm lucky where I live. It's great. There are lots of great places to go to. And Algonquin's near me, Kawartha Highlands near me. And I like my community, right? But also, if you're a world traveler, this is not going to be nice to you. Like you're going to get more depressed and anxious all about what's going on with COVID, right? Because, and also the economy will just collapse if we all just stay at home, right? So.
Sure, absolutely. Well, unless we're all ordering from Amazon, and then the world will turn. I don't know. We did that. I mean, people did that. I think there were probably a lot of online ordering. I'm sure there were a lot of increases in online ordering. First of all, people didn't go to the stores, like they did. And they're looking for something to do. So they might order something fun and cool off of Amazon just to keep themselves entertained, I'm sure,
Well, it's interesting. I was just talking to Chris, the owner of Novacraft, the other day. He's a canoe manufacturer in London, Ontario here. And I said, how's business? I thought it would slow down because I know it all went crazy the first year of COVID, and the second year, more and more people were going camping. But I thought that would curtail when things were opened up a little bit. And he said, absolutely not. He goes, I cannot keep up with the orders.
I love that because he's one of our sponsors. Novacraft is also one of our sponsors. And that's great news. Nobody wants to see anyone, any business suffer, especially, like with us in our industry. So I think that's amazing that, and he's actually, I think as a matter of fact, North Star, we had one of the gentlemen on from North Star, and they said the same thing. They couldn't keep up with orders.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that worries me, and I'm a worrier, is it's like everybody, they're all buying new cars, but they haven't learned how to drive yet.
Oh yeah.
Right. So someone's got to step in, and this has happened in the history of time. Like when all these people go out, then usually the government creates educational programs to make sure that they're doing it safe and educate them how to do it properly. It didn't seem that they were doing that until now. So hopefully things are going to change for that. But yeah, and I'm really worried once again, early spring, people get excited. They're going to go out on the lake as soon as the ice is off, and they don't know how to paddle. They flip, and then in 4 minutes, you're getting hypothermia. And then it's going to hit the news, and then everybody's going to say, well, canoeing is unsafe, so we'll have to put some regulations on that. You're going to have a license, just like license to drive, and then nobody will go. Nobody will buy a canoe, and then they'll go to
we've talked about this before, too. I mean, what is the solution to that, Kevin? Because you offer things and sometimes people take them. I would say probably a majority of the time they don't. And then they go get hurt. And then what happens, just as you described it, what is the right, I guess, what is the most effective way to get people to encourage, or to have people, I shouldn't say encourage, but to have them actually say, look, you know what, I really would like to know what I'm doing because I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to die.
Yeah. So two things. First, number one is education. Always education, because
Right.
my mom would always say, "Just didn't be stupid." You know, she's a very Scottish woman. It's just didn't be stupid. What's wrong with you?
But how do you get them educated if they don't, um, if they're not compelled enough to do it on their own? How do you encourage that?
Well, you have to do it in a way that it's not negative. So here's the second step, is actually to find them. So look, you can't go out in that lake right now without your PFD on. If you do, it's going to be this much fine, right? That is a deterrent, but
Yeah.
you're still going to get people drowning, right? So, but if you show them how smart it is to put that on, and it's all to do with really people that influence. So I have a pet peeve, and I'll tell everybody right now, I have a pet peeve with a whole bunch of YouTubers that are having their YouTube channels and they don't have a life jacket on, and they're the key people that people are watching. And I'll go to these people and say, hey, do everybody a favor and wear a life jacket or a PFD. Yeah. And a lot do. I'm not saying they don't, but some will say, I can do whatever I want, Kevin. It's my show. I'm like, no, you have a fan base, and it's your obligation to make sure that you're doing everything ethical. Well, yes. Why? Well, what the?
And it does come back to bite you in the ass at some point, because of what you just said. There was what happens then? People go out and they die, and they get hurt, and then we've got a bunch of negative press, right, so to speak.
Yeah, and it also, more and more people get hurt, the government will step in. I think somewhere, some states that you have in United States, you actually have to have a license for your canoe. I don't think people get it, but I do know that some have, and I don't think that will work in Canada, because everybody has this concept that a Canadian is born with a paddle in its hand.
Oh, they're not? I thought it was either a paddle in one hand and a hockey stick in the other. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So if all of a sudden the government says, well, by the way, you can only be a Canadian and true paddler if you actually have a license, and who's going to police that too? I mean, the last time I was in a Algonquin park, I paddled the entire park. I saw no wardens whatsoever. Yeah. And because there's cutbacks and everything else, even for conservation authorities, or conservation officers to go fishing illegally. Really, there's so many poachers out there that know they're not going to get caught.
Yeah, I mean, the odds are, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll when we come back, we're going to talk. We got a little personal thing for you, a little surprise for you, and we're going to talk about the Scottish Whitewater Festival as well. But don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground Views virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground Views virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutabaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
There's nothing like being out there. For over 50 years, we've been connecting people with nature by building classic Canadian canoe designs using the best materials available. We built a reputation on durable, dependable canoes that allow you to focus on what's important, whether that's unplugging in remote wilderness, spending quality time with your favorite people, or nailing the perfect line. Visit novacraft.com to find the perfect canoe for you and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Embrace simple pleasures, nature's music, the vision and aroma of your victuals simmering over a wood fire. We invite you to kindle your flame in a Littlebug stove. Visit us at littlebug.com. See why Littlebug is the top-rated stick stove and save 15% with discount code CAMPING15.
Introducing the Wander, a first-of-its-kind, durable, 5-in-1 patented outdoor recreational product that easily transforms from a camping cot or bench, fully reclinable lounger, a lower beach-type chair, a higher field camping chair, to a cart that hauls all your stuff. Our customers have raved about the Wander's durability and compactness when camping. Experience the innovative Wander for yourself and shop at omegear.com.
And we're back with our guest, Kevin Callan, here on the Camping Show. Roxy, we have, look at his face. He's just like, what's going to happen here? We have got a little video, a little clip of something that I believe I was myself that recorded this. It was 2 years ago. And I'm not going to introduce it. I'm just any more than that. I'm just going to let Roxy play it. We'll have some fun with it. And you're always a good sport. So Roxy, let her rip.
Drinking here now. What is this called? This is Monkey Shoulder.
This is Monkey Shoulder.
This is Kevin Callan.
Oh, get the shoulder off. No, get the monkey off my shoulder. Someone get the monkey off my shoulder.
Put this over here.
Yeah, we had a little fun. That was in Michigan, Quiet Adventure Symposium 2020. And you can see there was Cliff Jacobson there and Darlene Patterson, who gave you the Kung Fu kick, and her sister also in the background, as well as my cameraman Mike Baster. So yeah, I thought we'd play. I was looking for that clip some time ago, and in fact I can't find the original, but that was one that got posted on one of the social media things.
That's funny. That's what happens in the hotel room after the show.
Yeah, that's just before the TV went out the window, remember? We joke about that. Really, no TVs damaged, and they said about animals, though. No animals were harmed. No televisions were harmed in the making of that video. But anyway, I found that the other day. I thought you were gonna be on. I said I'm gonna play that clip. That's finally, I found it. So
that's good whiskey, though. That's good whiskey.
Yeah. Well, and I never get the name right. I call it other things, but it's actually Monkey Shoulder, right? That's the name of that. Yeah. Yep. I think that's clever. Let me ask you this. We heard you on other episodes of the show mention the Scottish Whitewater Festival a few times. And we've always said that we would talk more about that more in detail, at another time. So let's do it right now. We've got time. So if you could share with us what that festival all entails, and then, of course, some of the really cool experiences you've had at that festival.
Yeah, it's an amazing event. It's the Open Canoe Symposium in the UK. So one year they'll have it in Scotland, the next year in England, and then next year in Wales. And then the Irish show up for all three of them, and they have yet to go to Ireland to have it on that. But I think we should change that.
Right.
And yeah, so what they do is they have it in the end of October. I think the dates are October. What are the dates? October. Oh gosh, I wrote them down for you.
That's okay.
Oh gosh, where are they? October 28th to 30th, and it's in Wales this year. And so Ray Goodwin, he's basically the Bill Mason of the UK, amazing paddler, amazing educator. So he organizes this event in Wales. So when it's in Scotland, someone else organizes it. So they'll have all workshops. There's a lot of hands-on, which is I really, really like it. I mean, I must love it because I fly all the way there for it, right?
Right.
And I'm going this year because they haven't had it obviously for 2 years since COVID, but
okay.
So you spread out throughout the weekend in different workshops, so half day or full day workshops, whitewater techniques, poling techniques, how to sail a canoe, bushcraft, lots of bushcraft stuff, how to do canoe rescues. And then you have speakers in the evening, and I'm the keynote this year, so I'm going to have fun with that. What's really neat about it is that in the UK, the paddlers there are very technical. They're actually, I would say, a lot better paddlers than we are. But they're not used to immense canoe tripping. So, for example, I was presenting there once where a young gentleman was speaking about this river he did in Wales, and he was really excited that he didn't see anybody for 2 hours of his journey. And I got up and I started talking about all the canoe trips I've done where I've gone for a month and not seen anybody. And so they're not used to that, right? But the technical why, if you put them in a river and they can go down a series of rapids like dead on, like dead, and they could beat us.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Because they practice a lot and they have badges.
They have badges. What's that?
Yeah, well, it's an organization that they work towards their skill set, and the more skill set they get, the more badges or whatever they're called.
Really?
We have that here in Canada. You guys have that too. The American Canoe Association. We have the Orca, Ontario Recreational Canoe Association, or PAL Canada, which is across Canada.
Okay.
Same idea, but not as precise. And I think it's because the water they have is all day or overnight use and very tight, confined. So they have to really improve their skills to do that whitewater. Where we just go down the French River or we go down the Spanish River or the Mississippi River. We do that for 10 days.
Yeah.
Whole different tripping.
Interesting. Yeah. I know that I don't know if it was you or Cliff that did mention that before. They said, I think they're better paddlers by and large than what we are here in the U.S. Now, you mentioned poling and sailing.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so you look at canoe poling. It's an art form there because their rivers get shallow. And just like in here, in Maine, United States and Maine, and also in Canada, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, if you go there, most of those paddlers know how to pole. So you basically stand up and you pull the canoe upriver or downriver with a pole, not a paddle. And it's very effective in shallow, rocky rivers. I'd love to do a book on that, of regional paddling techniques. So because I'm near Algonquin, so therefore we use a prospector with actually otter tail or beaver tail paddles. If you go to Boundary Waters, it's asymmetrical fast boats with bent shafts. If you go out west, they're double blading in cruiser boats. So it's really interesting. So we're there. They do sailing and also poling. Why they do a lot of sailing is because there's lots of locks, and locks are lakes, but they're massive lakes. Mm-hmm. So they sail across them. We generally don't sail that much in Canada.
Yeah, what kind of sails are we using for that? I mean, are they using over there?
There's a variety, but basically it looks like you're just sailing a small sailboat, but it's rigged up on the single canoe. Now, I've done double canoes with the sail between us when we're doing a big river up north, and that's great. But that's not what they do. They do it so they're tilting on the side just like a sailboat.
Just like when you're tacking a sailboat, and like they're doing
Yeah.
And these are companies that make specialty rigs for that. Then
they do, or they make the homemade rigs, whatever. Go to Ray Goodwin's YouTube channel, and he just posted one of sailing, and your jaw will drop.
Okay, wow, interesting. What do those cost? Like a sailing rig? Just curious.
I don't know because I don't sail. I don't sail.
You don't do that either.
No, I know. But yeah, probably like a couple $100 or something.
Okay, so it's pretty affordable then.
Yeah, it is affordable. And poling, it's just a pole with a metal bit end to it. So
interesting on the poling thing. Well, I've seen them made out of wood, and I've seen fiberglass ones, and I've seen the metal poles. Poling, and I've seen it done on flat water too, but most of what I've seen has been upstream, in even when there's a decent current. But that's the way to make it upstream with a pole.
And they dance on the water. If you ever have a chance, go to the Maine Canoe Symposium and take a poling course. You have a similar, the Open Symposium is great in Wales and Scotland and in England, but you have one in Maine where you do the same thing. You go out and do workshops during the day, and then you have a speaker at night. And I know the two polars there, they're just fantastic.
I'm going to mention this to you. Last week I was in Louisiana, and we did a live remote broadcast with Ellen Falterman. And I don't know if you remember me mentioning this to you, but she is in October. She sets out for a 40,000 mile plus rowing expedition on the ocean around the world. And she estimates that'll take her between 6 and 7 years to do, which is amazing, by the way. And this ocean rowboat, we did a tour of her boat while I was down there, an actual detailed tour. We took her canoe, the canoe that she had taken down the Mississippi and the Missouri River, which, by the way, she has paddled the entire length of each of those rivers. She has a rowing rig set up on this 17-foot Grumman canoe, and she rowed those entire rivers. I get in there and tried that, and I'm telling you, that's really challenging to learn. But once you learn, and I watched her, we did some footage of her. It was amazing of how she maneuvered that canoe, and it just blew my mind. And she said, "Here, you know what? You want to paddle? That's fine." We were paddling upstream, or I'm sorry, upwind, going back to the area where we started, and it was a pretty strong headwind, and I was really struggling. And she said, "Here, let me row," and she got in behind those rows or the oars. And I'm telling you, she was doing 5, 6, 7 knots, and it was amazing. Have you ever had any experience with rowing a canoe, I should say, Kevin?
Well, no, but it intrigued me when I saw you doing that, because there was a new documentary that just came out here in Canada, and actually everybody there should watch it because they just put it on YouTube now. But it was through CBC Doc Gem or something like that. But it was called The Last Guide, and it's the last guide in Algonquin, and he just passed away a few months ago. And 2 best-selling books were written on him, and he rowed his canoe. He didn't paddle it.
Yeah,
and he was the guide in Algonquin Park. And when you look at it, it kind of makes sense going into the wind. Why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially if you're solo. So that intrigues me. I think it's really kind of cool that whatever floats your boat, right? I mean, if that's
quite literally,
that's fine. I mean, to me, just give me a beaver tail paddle and a prospector canoe and some canvas packs, and I'm good to go, right? I don't need to row, but others would differ, right? So
the only thing that really I found might be a little bit of a problem for some people is you're always looking, back over your shoulder like that. And she said it's really not a problem for her, but for old guys like me and you, maybe it would be. I don't know.
I know, because I was thinking about that too, because I know this is sort of silly, but it's not silly. I'd rather see where I'm going as opposed to where I've been.
Well, yeah, and you have to look back. You have to look, because that's where you're rowing facing backwards, and then of course you have to keep constantly looking over your shoulder like that. I think that would make my neck a little sore at the end of the day, but that's just me.
Do you have a rear view mirror on your shoulder?
I think that would be something for the outfitting company to go, "Hey, we're going to put you rear view mirrors like a semi truck on either side, and you can wide ankle." Oh, that's a great idea, man. We shouldn't have said that on the air. We could make that and maybe make $1 million, right? But no, I really, I tell you, on windy days, that especially makes sense. And I took some video of her in the I'm going to call it a lagoon area. And man, she maneuvered that canoe and whipped it around in 0.25 seconds. And I'm like, man, that is so impressive. And she's an impressive lady anyway. But if you ever get a chance to take a look at her stuff, you'll honestly be blown away. And she said, I don't know why rowing rigs or rowing a canoe is not any more popular than it is, because she goes, I will never go back to paddling. And I thought, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really magical when you see someone doing a skill that they've mastered over their life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely is. Hey, going back to the Scottish Whitewater Festival that we were talking about, can anyone attend that event? Is that or is that exclusive? And if they can, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, it's not a club. You just pay a fee for it. It's held in Bala in Wales this year, which is actually the northwest side of Wales. Beautiful country, absolutely beautiful country, and it's run out of an outdoor ed center with a big lake in front of you. So you do sailing and everything else out there, but then they also have vans and buses that go to all the other rivers around. Okay. So yeah, it's all open. And I mean, heck, I'm allowed to speak there, so it can't be that bad.
Well, and you actually don't stay in a hotel there. You've got a place to stay when you go there. Is that right?
Yeah. So you can do 2 things. You can stay in a tent. There's lots of places there's a mini campground, or you can actually rent a room in the outdoor center.
Oh, interesting. But there are hotels and things like that if you wanted to, and then you can maybe just rent a car and go back and forth if you needed to transportation. Is that right?
Yeah, you could. I wouldn't. I think the best part of it is to hang around with everybody for 3 days. In fact, what I do is after that, we always go on a canoe trip. Like we went down the Spey River after we did that a couple years ago. And so no, I would stay at the event, and you get food there. It's like, again, it's an outdoor ed center. They have things that, for you there. But it's just a camaraderie. I would stay.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask you about the whiskey experience that you had there that you kind of alluded to a couple of times, and I don't think we really got the full story, so I'd like to get that. I think that's going to be very entertaining. But so don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Camping Show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages.
It's time to go camping. Introducing Campground Views virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sights, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground Views virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutubaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
There's nothing like being out there. For over 50 years, we've been connecting people with nature by building classic Canadian canoe designs using the best materials available. We built a reputation on durable, dependable canoes that allow you to focus on what's important, whether that's unplugging in remote wilderness, spending quality time with your favorite people, or nailing the perfect line. Visit novacraft.com to find the perfect canoe for you and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Embrace simple pleasures, nature's music, the vision and aroma of your victuals simmering over a wood fire. We invite you to kindle your flame in a Littlebug stove. Visit us at littlebug.com. See why Littlebug is the top-rated stick stove and save 15% with discount code CAMPING15.
Introducing the Wander, a first-of-its-kind, durable 5-in-1 patented outdoor recreational product that easily transforms from a camping cot or bench, fully reclinable lounger, a lower beach-type chair, a higher field camping chair, to a cart that hauls all your stuff. Our customers have raved about the Wander's durability and compactness when camping. Experience the innovative Wander for yourself and shop at omegear.com.
And we're back with our guest, the happy camper, Kevin Callan, here on the Camping Show. Kevin, you had mentioned there was this whiskey. Was it a whiskey sampling that took place? While you were over there, and it was at this festival, not during the festival, was it, or afterward?
It was after, because what happened the year before, I went to the festival, and then I had to fly back and work. I take students out, so I had to do this backpacking trip with them. And I realized I had lost the best part of it. I mean, why go to Wales and just spend the weekend? Like, that's crazy.
Right.
So I got smart and left that other job. And then the next year when I was invited, we decided to go on a canoe trip after the event, which was late in the year to think about it. I mean, it was November, but they don't get a true winter. And Paul Kirtley, which is the best bushcrafter in all of the UK, he organized it. Cackle TV, Justine, she's the filmmaker. She went on the trip, and also Ray Goodwin, the canoe instructor. These are all friends of mine that I always hung around with at events, but never really on a canoe trip. So we all decided, hey, let's just go, and we did solo boats, which was really unique. We all had solo boats doing this river. Now the Spey River goes all the way down the ocean, and it's constant whitewater for the whole entire week. There's not one calm spot, but it's not really insane whitewater. It's just constant. And so we headed out, and the idea was along the way, there's all these whiskey distilleries along the Spey River because they use the water because it's really good water for making their whiskey.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best places for making whiskey in Scotland. And so I got invited to partake along and do a testing tour every day in different distilleries. And my Lord, I have to pinch myself. I got paid for this job because I was writing about it and filming it.
It's beautiful.
And it was incredible. So we would go into the distilleries, and then they show me like the moonshine and how it starts, and then to the point where this is the best whiskey. And some of them were like $3,000 a bottle. And they're like, here you go.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I got to know what the true good whiskey was about and the history of it, and really had a great time with really good friends. And they had it really organized. Like we'd go to the bank, and then they'd have a taxi pick us up because we'd camp in the bank, and the taxi would pick us up, go into town. We'd go to the whiskey distillery. The taxi would take us back. And I tell you, the best whiskey, the best tasting and the best tour I had, and I think the most ethical was Balvenie. And what they did, one night they even came into our campsite, and they did the whole entire. You got to watch that film I did on my Casey Happy Camper. It's one of my favorite. They did a whole taste testing. And that was the only time I swear, it was the only time I got tipsy.
Really? How many samples did you partake of?
Oh, well, what happened on that night was I had done a really scary rapid. I what's it called? Death Rapids, whatever. I don't know. But I did it. And I didn't dump. It was great. But when I got into town, there was a whiskey called that from that rapid.
Oh,
so
wow.
I bought it. And Paul said, no, Kevin, maybe you shouldn't have a whiskey yet. Maybe you should have it after supper. I was like, I almost died today. I'm having a whiskey.
Yeah.
And what he was trying to get at, he didn't tell me this tour was coming into our camp. So by the time they came, I had like 3 scotches in me, right?
Yeah.
And then they started with, it really was the moonshine of scotch. And then all to the end, I had a blast.
And no food. No food.
No, they even cooked for us. They did a whole Scottish meal for us. They did everything. I just loved that trip. The people were amazing. The only difficult part was when we got to the ocean. We're supposed to go out to the ocean. It was so high winds. It was tornado winds that we had to bail on that. And then the other was running the rapids. Everybody out there would find this interesting if you've done whitewater. I was that Canadian that does really long trips, and they showed me how to paddle in Scotland, because if it's constant whitewater, I had to do a lot of downstream ferries, upstream ferries, eddy in a lot quicker than actually I would on rivers here.
Wow.
And so they taught me how to do that, and it made a big difference.
Isn't that interesting? You're an expert, and yet there are things to learn in other places because of a different situation.
Well, that's with everything in life, right? I mean, if when I used to guide and we used to hire guides in Temagami, if someone said that they knew exactly how to canoe, they were professionals at it, we wouldn't hire them.
Oh,
right?
Really?
Because you always say that you're going to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you've learned everything, then you're going to die out there.
That's a little dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah. Arrogance will kill you in the wilderness. So.
It'll kill you in a lot of places, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate that. That's a great story. I didn't hear the whole thing in its entirety. I heard little bits and pieces, and I thought, well, let's put it together, the whole thing at once. I
got to tell you, I'll do this really quick because I know we're running out of time, but when I got home, so one of those distilleries gave me one of those bottles that was worth a lot of money, right? And I brought it home, and all my buddies knew I had it. So they all came over for a visit, and I give them a wee dram. And my neighbor, that really doesn't know too much about whiskey, he just drinks his rye and Coke, whatever, right? And so he comes over to see what's up, and I'm pouring the whiskey, and he's like really intrigued with this. And love my neighbor, but there's no way I'm going to give him a bottle of whiskey that costs a lot of money.
Right, of course.
So I when he wasn't looking, I poured a really, really bad blend whiskey.
Without his knowledge.
Oh my God. And so we enjoyed the really fancy whiskey. And to this day, he goes, oh, that was a great day when Kevin gave me this really expensive whiskey. No, I did not give you an expensive whiskey.
You're a really bad friend. You know that, man? I love it. Oh my God, that's great. Let me ask you what, and I just want to get the catch up with you here. And I'm sure people are curious. What sort of trips do you have planned in Canada for this spring and summer?
Yeah, so I'm going on my traditional spring trip in Algonquin for brook trout, and we haven't done that for 2 years. So my buddies and I are really excited about that. We're doing that in a couple of weeks when the ice is out. I'm actually doing a whole bunch of river trips in southwestern Ontario with my partner Christine, and we're also going to the west bay of Lake Nipissing on the French River. I'm also going to Temagami. We're going to navigate Lake Temagami for a route.
Nice.
I'm doing tons of trips because I have that top 70 route book that's due the third edition, and it's due in mid-August. So I got to paddle my buns off to get that done.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, are you going to let Christine bring her sleeping pad this time, or are you going to be? Just wondering. I saw
which one? She owns 20 of them.
I laughed my butt off when I saw that. I thought, Kevin, really? You know, and she was very nice about it. I think I would have been in some trouble, but you get away with a lot. I love it. She's an excellent lady. I mean, very, very tolerant as well, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, well, on the French River trip, you saw that video. It rained. It poured down rain for 12 hours straight, or whatever. I don't know how long it was, but it just poured. And she laughed, and yeah. She's fantastic. I always I see her posts on social media, and I'm like, she has some excellent posts too. Very good. I did like the one about talking about, what was that about I think it was personal hygiene or something like that was one of the ones you said, right? You were doing at camp, and she, well, Kevin, how do you do this? And I thought it was great. You guys make a great couple, man. Fantastic. Well, Kevin, where can our audience go to learn more about you and your travels and follow you on social media and to purchase your books, I might add? Yeah. So Casey Happy Camper is my YouTube channel. I'm on Instagram, Casey Happy Camper, and I'm also on Facebook. Casey Happy Camper, and also Kevin Callan on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. So I got a webpage to kevincallan.com. But you can go to anywhere to get my books. I have a new book coming out in about less than a month. It's a memoir about me growing up as an anxious kid and escaping into the nature to cure or try to cure anxiety. So yeah, and that will be out too. Will there be some excerpts in that book from your musical career? Oh, yes. Really? You'll love it. The designer was doing the photo ops for it, and I told you about the band I was in high school. Yeah, right. And so I found photos of them. I was just going to say, I hope there are photos to accompany that. Oh, that would be great. Yeah. Full leather outfits and punk hair and everything else, and there I am. I'm absolutely looking forward to that. I think that will be great. I love it. You and I, one of these days, we'll sit around and have a whiskey and share some stories and see who can make the other laugh the most. But yeah. Well, Kevin, I'd like to thank you for being my guest here on the Camping Show. It's always a pleasure having you here with us. Here. Oh, great. Love your show. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I'd like to also thank our sponsors, Campground Views, Rutabaga Paddle Sports, Novacraft Canoe, Little Bug Enterprises, and OME Gear for bringing you tonight's show. Be sure to tune in for next week's episode, Environmental Impact by Adventurers, with our special guest, Allison Wyatt. Until then, thank you for tuning into the Camping Show. This is C.W. Getz reminding you, learn more, do more. See you next week.